listening to the Laundromat Resource Podcast, the show by laundromat owners for laundromat owners, with your host, Jordan Berry. Yes, Jordan.
All right, what's up, guys? It's Jordan from Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show number 13, and I'm super excited that you're here today because today we're talking with JD Dixon out in Nashville, Tennessee, and he's coming with a very unique perspective. JD is a multi-store owner. He owns 2 and he's building the 3rd. He'll tell you all about that today. But he's also a distributor, and he owns a distributor company out there in Nashville. So he's coming from both perspectives, and I think it brings a lot of value because he's talking with a lot of owners, a lot of you guys that are out there listening to this, and he gets just a wide perspective, wider than most of us who are just kind of owning our laundromats in our whatever area we're in. So he's hearing a lot of different things, and he brings a lot of really cool perspective and insight and information today. And he's got some really great tips for you to help you improve your business and help you find financial freedom through laundromat ownership. If that's something you're seeking after, this is the place to be because we're doing this together and we're all sharing together what's working for us and our mistakes and what we can learn from them. So, man, I'm pumped about today's interview. I think you're going to be pumped. JD's just a great guy, and he's full of stories, and I think you're going to love it. But before we get in there, I want to just take a second to celebrate because last week, I don't think we celebrated. Maybe we did. I can't remember now. It's so long ago. Oh, man. But we crossed over 2,500 downloads on the podcast. I'm super pumped about that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and hopefully these interviews are really helping you guys out, and you're excited about implementing some of the things you hear these other owners doing into your businesses. So that's exciting. We also just crossed 400 members on laundromatresource.com, which is super exciting to me. So if you are listening to this podcast and you haven't yet subscribed, and left us a rating and review on whatever platform you're listening or watching this on, man, go and subscribe. You don't want to miss it. There's so many cool people coming on here, and we have more coming up over the next few episodes, and I'm just super pumped about all of it. And so make sure you're subscribed. Go leave us a review and rating. That just helps us out. Lets people know that either you think we have value to offer or maybe you think we don't. I don't know. But that's where you can let me know which end of the spectrum you're on. And then the other thing, too, is if you haven't joined us over at laundromatresource.com and signed up for a membership over there, come on over and join our community. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. I have a lot of really cool things in the pipeline that we're working on over here. And it's just been awesome. And I'm super excited about what this is becoming and the people who are starting to join it and get excited about it. It's becoming a really cool community over there. So come join us if you haven't yet. With that, speaking of our community and what's going on over at laundromatresource.com, the forums are still rolling, and we still got some great questions coming up. I wanted to highlight a couple of them today. The first one I want to highlight was from Ty, who is, he's just he has a laundromat. He says it's an older laundromat, and he wants to add some 60-pound machines, and he's wondering how he can do that, particularly with, I'm trying to speak faster for you guys because my wife is always giving me a hard time about how slow of a talker I am, but I just can't do it, and I get tongue-tied. Particularly, he's curious as to how does he deal with the drainage issue if he's trying to add 2 new 60-pound washers into his laundromat. And that's a great question. I don't know that I have the answer for it, but some of you guys have done this before. Maybe you're a distributor who works with an installer. Maybe you're an installer. Maybe you've just built laundromats or you've done this and tackled this. Ty could really use some help in how to deal with the drainage issue with these 2 60-pound washers that he wants to add into his laundromat. So go help Ty out. And Michael also had a question similar to one we heard last week or the week before. But it's, I can't remember, man. I'm getting old. His question is basically like, how far away is too far away to own a laundromat? And is owning one semi-remotely or remotely even possible? So some of you guys maybe have some insight into that. Maybe you think it's not feasible and you have some good reasons why. Maybe you think it is feasible and you have some good reasons why. Head over to the forums, laundromatresource.com/forums, and go help out Ty, go help out Michael, go help out all the other people who are leaving their questions and comments over at the forums, and go start some discussions over there also. And man, I think that's just an awesome place for us to get together. And one of our, I guess, values here at Laundromat Resource is that we are all better together. And the forums is a great place to be together and to be better together. That's an amazing place to go. Just talk laundromats together and share what we want to share. So laundromatresource.com/forums. This week, homework assignment again, go ask one question on the forums. I don't care if you're brand new or if you're an expert and you're top of the industry. Go ask a question over there and go answer a question over there and really just get to know each other over there in the forums. So check that out, laundromatresource.com/forums. Link is in the description and in the show notes. And speaking of which, I'm getting excited. I'm just hitting everything right now. Speaking of the show notes, you can see those this week at laundromatresource.com/show 13, lucky number 13 today with JD Dixon. And before we get into our interview with JD, let's have a quick message.
In today's world, if your laundromat is not online, you're losing business. Customers increasingly decide who to trust with their laundry by the quality of your web presence. But creating a professional logo and website that instills trust in potential customers and can be found on page 1 of Google can be difficult to create on your own and expensive to purchase through a traditional marketing company. As part of our mission to help laundromat owners succeed and find financial freedom through laundromat ownership, we are launching our done-for-you marketing service tailored specifically for laundromats. After ranking number 1 on Google with our own laundromat website and consulting with many others to help them do the same, we guarantee that we can build you a professional website that ranks on page 1 of Google within 6 months. Our joint expertise in the laundry industry and over 15 combined years in website design and online marketing allow us to offer affordable, transparent pricing for a high-quality web presence for your laundromats. You invest so much into providing your customers a quality laundry experience. Don't let anyone miss out on what you have to offer simply because they can't find you online. Let Laundromat Resource Marketing take care of your online presence so you can take care of your customers. Visit laundromatresource.com/getonline today for more information. That's laundromatresource.com/getonline or click on the link in the description.
All right, without further ado, let's jump into it with JD, the laundromat owner and distributor, and get his unique perspective on the industry right now and what he has to say to you that can help you in your business. Let's do it.
All right, we're here with JD. What's up, JD? How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me up here. In the words of Bernardo Faria, this is a huge honor for me. I really appreciate it.
Hey,
really looking forward to a fun show here. I hope we can be, entertaining, and I don't know, maybe somebody might get something out of it.
Well, you know what? The honor is all mine and all of ours, actually, just to get to hear your story and to get to hear, your wisdom. And I know that there is wisdom. We chatted a little bit before we jumped on this thing, and I could already tell you got a lot to offer. So before we get into all of that wisdom, man, we want to get to know you a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about you and who you are, and then how in the world you got into the laundromat industry? I get asked that all the time, and I want to know that for other owners too. So how'd you get in this industry? But tell us a little bit about you before you get there.
Okay, well, my name is JD Dixon. I run a distributorship called National Laundry Equipment out of Nashville, Tennessee. I also am a route operator, and I have 2 laundromats. I'm currently building my 3rd one.
Hey, all right.
Pretty excited. Actually, just got the final plans from the architect just a few minutes before we started. So it's going to be fun to go through those and start that process, and go through the whole process of just terrifying myself to no end, because you see all the money going out and no money's coming in, and you just get more and more and more terrified. And then all of a sudden, about the 3rd week that you open, you start feeling, well, maybe I'll survive this. As a distributor, I get to see people walk through it over and over again, and it's different when you're kind of looking at somebody else walking through it. But man, when you're walking through it yourself, it's just not it's not something that is lightly done, and I know it's going to work because we do it over and over again, but it's still terrifying. So
well, it's your money. It's your money on the line this time. I just got off a coaching call with somebody who's building the laundromat too, and just they just wanted me to tell them it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. So it's scary.
Right. I want somebody to tell me that right now.
Yeah. It's going to be okay.
Oh, I know.
It's going to be okay.
It always is. We built, a bunch of them. And to this day, we've never had one that was not profitable.
Yeah.
And we're really, really proud of that at National Laundry Equipment. We've been very careful. We don't just go spend people's money willy-nilly. My manufacturer that I sell on the coin side, Hips, they probably would like me to push, more laundry equipment. But I've always felt like I would rather make sure that the store that I build for the customer is going to be successful. Yeah. And I am really not going to build a store unless I feel like I would build one there for me. And we turned down some stores, and we're smaller than we would be otherwise. But, I have a network of friends now that are also my clients. And it's been worth it. It's more of a long-term play. I think hopefully it'll last. I'm a first generation owner of a distributorship, which is rare these days. Most distributorships are generational.
Yeah.
Now, my company, though, was started in 1947 under National Equipment Company, and I am the 4th owner. And it went down almost to nothing. And then in 2008, I took over, and we've come back pretty strong. I think we're pretty excited. We're pretty excited about what the future holds. And honestly, I'm excited about what the future holds for the industry. We've got a lot of really, really neat innovation coming down the pipe. The laundry business is like the blues, right? You got your cord set. You got 1, 4, and 5, and it feels very restrictive. There's just not much you can do. What are you doing? Like you're selling utilities here, right? Like you're selling electricity and gas and water in a machine that washes clothes, right? Well, the amazing thing is that structure, that tight structure, just spawns amazing innovation. And I have a couple of customers I'd like to shout out to. One's my brother, Adam Dixon, and another one, a guy named Steve Andrews. These guys are always teaching me stuff. And I have some other ones that are doing the same thing. And it's just really fun when they call me up and they're like, hey, have you seen X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, no, I haven't, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this for you. And they're like, well, you got to look at this. And I'm like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever, And one of those, this is a little bit of an older one, but there's one called RIPL, Ripple. It's a free app. You can make really great, Facebook advertisements and stuff. I've had great success with this. And everything from, using your laundromat as a sort of thinking of it as a business to where you've got humans in there for X amount of time. How am I going to monetize the advertisement here? Yeah. All the way to like Dave Menz, who I've recently met, and I think a lot of, he's a great guy. Yeah. All the way to, okay, I've got this, basically this light manufacturing plant. How am I going to keep it running 24 hours a day?
Yeah.
And, you've got all of these different sort of pathways that you would think would be so constrained by that really that tight fence that, well, I mean, we're just selling utilities for people to do laundry, but the level of innovation people come up within that fence is just, it just keeps me excited.
Yeah.
So, it's really fun to see.
Yeah.
Really.
It's very cool. And that's been one of the things that's very surprising to me, just in doing this and talking to so many owners, through the coaching and stuff. It's just the diversity of how people run their businesses and what they're doing with them. And, let alone, the technological kind of innovations that are happening right now and that are coming down the pipeline and stuff like that. It's been pretty surprising. So quick plug, Dave Min's incredible podcast episode, laundromatresource.com/show2. That is one of that might be the most listened to episode. So go check that out if you haven't checked it out yet. He's awesome. Also known as, now dubbed, the Laundromat Millionaire. So check out that on, he's on cool Facebook guy. And YouTube. He's great.
Yeah. So Ralph Daniels, who owns the Aqua Wing ozone system, for Santa Wash, Ralph and I are pretty close. We're pretty good friends. And, the COVID thing happened and he didn't feel good about sending his guys down to put one in for Dave. Mm-hmm. So he called me because we're not that far away. I can just drive up there. It was no big deal. So we went up and put it in for him.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I just saw you put it in.
Meet him and talk to him. And he's everything you think he is on that podcast. Like, he walks in and he's bigger than life and he's telling stories and he's laughing. And he's just the happiest guy. Yeah. And I really think a lot of him. Yeah. It was really good to get to know him, and it's good to call him a friend now. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, tell us, how'd you get into the industry?
It's a kind of a crazy story. I went to college. I was one of these really focused guys when I went to college, which is really weird to think about. But I was really focused on biology, and specifically molecular biology, because I wanted to go into pharmacology and make medicines to help people. Mm-hmm. And so
seems like a natural segue to laundromats to me.
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense because we also have a chemical business for the OPL side, and I get to use my sciencey, nerdy side over there.
Over there, good.
But and that actually is super fascinating. How do you get this new brand of foundation out of white, linens? I mean, it's actually foundation takes up a lot of my mental brain power nowadays. Yeah. Especially in Nashville, Tennessee, with these ladies and their makeup, and oh my goodness. Yeah. So anyways, I ended up working in a laboratory for 2 years, kind of during my transition between my bachelor's and I was going to pursue a PhD. And I worked for a brilliant, kind man named Doug Vaughn, who was working on a specific gene called PI1, which is really involved in heart disease. Uh-huh. And oh my goodness, he had the most amazingly brilliant humans in this lab, and they were doing these just cutting edge, amazing things in there. And my job was taking care of the mice. He had 600 of those little guys.
Oh, jeez.
And I would go to work and I would take care of these mice all day long. And then I would come home and my wife would be like, shower now. I'm smelling like a mouse, which is not a phenomenal smell.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting to be part of, some really neat studies, and I actually got published and some cool stuff like that. And, but it just wasn't for me. So then I kind of went through this sort of really weird sort of, all right, what am I going to do kind of stage. So I ended up going to New Hampshire and getting a wilderness emergency medicine, certificate or whatever. I was an EMT, but I was a WEMT, and I worked on the mountain rescue squad out of North Conway, up on like Mount Washington and stuff like that. And mainly did a whole lot of climbing. Lived in an apartment with 3 other dudes. I think it was not even a 500 square foot apartment. And there was
living the life. Yeah.
Didn't have a frickin' penny to my name. Had a great time. Moonlighted in the emergency room in North Conway, which I think had about 7 or 8 beds. Like it was the tiniest.
Tiny.
And, just kind of went through that and kind of figured out that, okay, the medical thing's not really for me. I mean, it was an adventure and I loved it, but, and so, I came out and, I was, kind of always, sort of loved to fish and got a job in this fishing store back in Nashville. The owner of it ended up sort of giving me more and more responsibility, and I ended up running a store for him. And then I applied to the Owen School of Vanderbilt and miraculously got in. Had no idea what the words ROI meant. Zero business training.
Return on investment for the uninitiated.
Yeah,
ROI, return on investment.
I mean, like the most basic thing, like, what is a debit? What is a credit? I don't know. I mean, whatever. I sitting in there in like an accounting class with like people who were previously accountants, and now going back for an MBA, and I'm just like, holy smokes, I'm here, right? Made my way through that. Actually, did really well. Enjoyed it. I wish I could go back and take a lot more classes. I would love to take a lot more classes on. I'm just a math guy, and so I ended up sort of going toward the finance side. Now that I own a business, I really wish I would have gone more toward the sort of dealing with employees side. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep,
like
absolutely.
It's a lot like when you're in school, the whole finance side, and I can do these complicated math problems. I mean, that you kind of feel like you're the stud. Well, When you get out, the really complicated stuff is going through the maze of having employees and having, interpersonal relationships and having, okay, so what happens when, these two people suddenly don't like each other?
Yeah.
We actually had a couple of employees getting married one time, and the marriage ended up being a disaster. What am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. Yeah. I mean, it was really hard,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was really, really hard. They actually fell in love while working at one of my laundromats, and I ended up getting married, and they were both phenomenal until they got married. And then about 6 months after they got married, I mean, it was just, it was horrible to watch.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for both of them. But yeah, so I mean, dealing with complicated stuff like that, I really wish I'd spent a lot more time doing that. And then, I had access to a lot of classes at the law school. I should have done that too.
Yeah.
I make my way through, and I think we all do.
The
law is
School of Hard Knocks now.
Yeah. And a good lawyer is worth his weight or her weight in gold.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. I have a wonderful lawyer, and he saves my tail over and over and over again. I've never been sued, never had a lawsuit against me or anything like that. But excuse me, my computer is freaking out here. I've never had that kind of issue, but just okay. So here's, his name's Brian. So Brian, here's this contract, right? So, because we do a lot of state accounts and stuff like that, especially on our OPL side. And I do a lot of leasing of big, heavy equipment to companies and stuff. So, I mean, we're dealing with governments and stuff like that. And I get this contract. And I'm like, Brian, this looks pretty good, And so I recently had one actually last week, and I sent it to him. He's like, all right, I'll look at it. He sends it back. The only thing he writes on his email, he says, no, not even a little bit. Period. And I was like,
perfect.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. And he was like, dude, they are going to take you to the cleaners. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board on that one. But it's, it's all, it's all a learning thing. So I got out of business school, and, by my second year, I had done pretty well. And sort of started figuring things out, at least thinking I did, because, graduating from business school and actually running a business is a totally different thing.
Totally different. Yeah.
It's not man, you come out and you think you can take on the world, and then the world just like, you get in and that bell rings and it's the first round and you take like, a freaking 3-shot combo right off the bat, bam, bam, bam. And you go, wait a minute, what have I done? This is not what they told me it's going to be like. And, so I went and worked for this German private equity company, all these things called Flavor Services. They're out of Mindelheim, Germany. And they bought actually they're out of Munich. They bought a company called Wagner Mogul in Mindelheim, and they wanted to bring that product to the United States. They made really expensive furniture and cabinets, and so they made me the director of U.S. operations. Well, I thought I was, really up there in the world.
Sounds prestigious, yeah.
Yeah. So it turns out I was the only sales guy for the entire United States. I mean, that's what I did. Like basically I was an airplane jockey.
Yeah.
They would send me places, and I wasn't only the sales guy. Like I'd never done an architectural drawing in my life, and so here I am having to like try to measure rooms and everything. And of course, these folks are German, so precision is sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And zero of the drawings that I ever, zero room that I ever measured was anywhere near correct as far as their line of. But I was with still had a great time and loved them. And I was with one of the guys that owned the company. We were running around in Munich one time after I was over there for meetings, and gosh, what a great city. I mean, the Europeans in general, I have had great, experiences with them. They've just been wonderful people. And of course, he was in this private equity group, but we stopped at an ATM and he was going to get some cash out. And I was just kind of standing there and I accidentally kind of saw what he had in his bank account. I didn't really mean to. And I was like, Toby, man, I really didn't mean to see. I was kind of just standing there, but I saw, and I got to ask you, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, you're not going to get there working for me. And I was like, okay. I was like, what is this supposed to mean? Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you need to get out and find your own business. And I think there may have been a little alcohol involved in that. I'm not sure. But that's what he told me. And then, he sort of started coaching me a little bit. And then I started looking for my own business. Well, I didn't have a lot of money. And I managed to scrape up from between bank loans and selling stuff and, stuff from my friends and family. I ended up scraping up $50,000, like total what I could buy a business for. And that doesn't buy you much of a business.
Right.
I was on Biz Buy Sell and everything. And I was literally looking at little vending machine routes and stuff like that with like 4 or 5 or 6 vending machines and, that kind of thing. And I saw National Equipment Company up there, and I walked in, and there was an older fella and an older lady sitting in there. They had a desk, they had a typewriter, they had a phone that still had a cord on it, and they had a ledger that went back to 1947. I swear this ledger book was probably 10 inches deep.
Sheesh.
And no computer. And I was like, I think maybe I can help this place. And so we started working together. The lady's name was Juanita Elder. She promised me a year. She stayed with me 11. She's in her 80s now in COVID, so she's not coming into the office.
Yeah.
But she promised me a year, and she stayed with me 11. And it's really been amazing. I did not take a paycheck for 4 years. Thank goodness my wife worked. I ate cheese sandwiches. Juanita will tell you, I almost burned the place down one time because I got busy, and I used to have a toaster oven where I would literally put a piece of like Kraft cheese on a piece of bread and put it in the toaster oven and then just start it. I did that, and then I went to work and I forgot about it because this particular toaster oven was probably made in the 50s and it didn't really turn off. Like you had to turn it off. So anyway, it's like everywhere, Oh man. But oddly, I miss those days. it's just absolutely amazing. I remember, finally having enough money to buy my first like real appliance dolly. Right? I mean, that was like a big deal.
Big deal, yeah.
I mean, it was a big deal. And then I remember, having enough money to buy my first, pickup truck. And I bought this old used, I think it was like a 1994 F-250 gas, pickup. It had this massive, I think it's a 6-cylinder engine, but it's just gargantuan, right?
Yeah. Gets like 8 miles to the gallon.
Oh, yeah. Right. I thought I was really big time because I put this lift gate on the back of it. And, oh man. And, it just, God's been good. It just kind of started like with a little speck, and it's just rolling and rolling and rolling, getting bigger and bigger. And, we're having a lot of fun making friends. We have a great culture here. We've got a really close bunch of people that work here and also in the laundromats. And, we all are all about kind of going to bat for each other. And it really makes it worthwhile,
Yeah. So when did you pick up that first laundromat?
I picked up that first laundromat in 2014.
Okay.
And it was a retool. The guy that had it before was sort of a bigwig, and he made some kind of really bad investment. I don't really know exactly what happened, but he basically owned the entire town. This is in Dixon, Tennessee, and he owned a ton of real estate in Dixon. And not spelled like my name, totally different, not related to that. Obviously much more affluent family than mine that a town was named after. But anyway, the guy had owned a bunch of real estate, and he lost it all to the bank. And this little real estate company that kind of buys real estate from banks, calls me and is like, "Hey, we got this laundromat here. Do you want to come in and maybe, put in a laundromat and run it?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I can afford it," because I still wasn't, I was doing better, but, I was barely paying myself.
Yeah.
And, I tell you, to Alliance Laundry Systems credit, they really helped me. They believed in me. They helped finance that, that first little project there and everything. And it, it's really turned out really well. And so when I walked into that store, I wish you could see pictures of it. It was just disgusting. And it had been closed for 3 months, and I didn't want to walk on the floor. And there were several dryers that obviously had fires in them. A number of the dryers didn't even have doors on them. And, you start talking to the people around there, and they're like, "Yeah, that's where everybody goes down there to buy drugs." That's the spot, right? And I'm, "Oh, great. Okay, cool. I just signed a lease for 10 years. Awesome."
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just turned out to be the greatest thing. And then after that, I started realizing the power of the laundromat, which you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And, and then I built another one in 2016. And then I kind of started getting into other things, like the chemicals and the OPL side and all that kind of stuff, because it's kind of more sciencey and everything. And then, COVID hit, and we're sort of living in a recessionary time right now. And, man, the laundromats are just, at least around here, are still clicking right along. They may be down a little bit, but it's not like, and then I've got, OPL laundries that are, laying off 2/3 of their staff, and some of them are going out of business. And, the chemical side of the company is just hurting so bad because, nobody's ordering anything. And I know, how much these companies are doing, because I can easily chart how many gallons of soap and bleach and all that stuff they're using, right? So, it's an interesting situation. And even the big ones that do hospitals and stuff, you think they'd be booming, but they're not, because people aren't doing any non-essential stuff.
Yeah.
So, all the non-essential stuff is stuff that makes hospitals money, right? So those laundry businesses are having a little bit of trouble. And I mean, this is maybe for a future segment, but I kind of thought there may be a little bit of an opportunity there, right? For laundromats, because you've got basically an OPL laundry facility. The programming on the washers is unfortunately not as elegant,
Right.
Like I can create reclaim cycles and stuff where we can use enzymes, and I can bathe linens for 3 hours in a specific temperature, and stuff like that. You can't do that with laundromat programming, but you can get pretty darn close. And guys like Dave Menz are doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's happiness, and then man, there's this great opportunity that we're coming up on, which is app-based laundry for professionals, right? So developing apps, and then somebody's going to figure this out. And some smart person is going to figure out exactly how to do it, and it's going to be bonkers. Because I know, my wife and I have children, and if we could, for a monthly fee, have somebody else do our laundry and drop it off and pick it up. I don't care if they pick it up and drop it off in the middle of the night. If I got to push it to the curb in some kind of fancy container, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be the best thing ever, and I spent some time thinking about it, but I don't know. It's someday somebody's going to crack it. I've got a friend who I went to business school with over at Owen, who he actually is a smart guy. He's a really smart guy. But his name's Dale Leo, and Dale's dad actually designed the onboard guiding system for rockets, like big time stuff. Like
sweet, yeah,
very smart people.
Smart.
Well, anyway, he's really working on this. He's got a couple of laundromats, and he's getting down the road down to it. So that'll be interesting to watch. And then guys like Dave Menz and some other guys across the country, how they're going to do this, because it is a huge market. Young professionals, we don't have time. So
yeah, it's going that way. I mean, everything else is going that way. Short-term rentals are that way already. Car taxi service with Uber and Lyft are that way. I mean, it's all food delivery. Everything's going that way. So
absolutely. Shoot. I mean, some of the major car companies now even have like app-based car, like owning, like you can have a different car every year if you want, if you subscribe. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know how much that costs, but that's how it's going. But it's pretty cool.
It's moving that way. All right. So you got this laundromat, and somebody was like, hey, let's retool it. And you had who knows what all over the laundromat, but you retooled it and it went well.
Yes,
so
it did.
It went well enough for you to decide to buy another one. So how did that?
Well, and that one I built from the ground up.
Oh, all right.
And that was an interesting situation because we had this massive flood in 2010 in Nashville. And it was one of these things that hopefully will never happen again. But, where the Titans play, the water literally went up to like the 16th row.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like all of downtown was underwater.
Yeah.
And so anyways, this was a shopping area that had never recovered. And there was a Peebles. I don't know if you guys have those stores.
I don't know.
It's like a big box store. So there was the Peebles in there, and a new landlord bought it. And this was in 2016 when he did this. So, I mean, not the entire, but most of the shopping center has just been dead for 6 years now.
Yeah.
So, you think, well, that's not a place I'm going to go. So anyways, but this guy somehow found me. I'm not really sure. But he said, hey, I'm going to revitalize the shopping center. He had a really good plan. I was like, wow, yeah, I would like to put a laundromat there. So I put a laundromat, and my next door neighbor is a Dollar Tree, and it's just phenomenal.
That's perfect. Yeah.
That one is an amazing store because I built that store as kind of a showroom. I always figured it would probably lose money because Ashland City, Tennessee, only got like 5,500 people.
Yeah.
That little thing cranks out money like nobody's business. I mean,
Really?
like it does. Yeah. And I mean, for that little area, it's a big store, I've leased 4,000 square feet, and I use about 3,000 for the laundromat, and then I use about 1,000 to kind of store some route equipment and stuff like that. But I mean, that little store is cranking out over $20,000 a month, and revenue line. And so, I mean, you own laundromats, it's pretty amazing. So I mean, it's almost doing what the Dixon store is doing, and Dixon has like I don't know, 25,000 people in it. So,
yeah, that's crazy.
I guess we're drawn from the entire county or something over there. So,
yeah,
it just goes to show if you go in and do it right, people are going to drive.
Yeah, I get that question a lot because I get a lot of calls from people who are from, smaller town. I'm in Los Angeles, so there's pretty much a laundromat every other block, and
right?
there's like 20,000 people within, quarter mile of the laundromat, basically, So, but I get a lot of people calling from these smaller towns wondering, can laundromats work? If my town has 5, 10, 15,000 people in it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I guess, you're showing that at least there it's working.
Right. At least
that's a big store, 4,000 square foot for.
Well, so I tend to build big stores.
Yeah.
Interestingly, this one that I'm about to build is sort of out of my comfort zone. It's smaller. And I looked for real estate in this particular area, and it's just real hard. And I've been looking for real estate for years in this area, and it's hard to find. So finally I found one, and it's right next door to a Dollar General, which is, a good partner to be next door.
Definitely.
But it's only 2,400 square feet. And the way I'm going to get around with is, Alliance has these new washer dryer stacks. It was kind of driven by Dexter having, and you got to be careful with these up north because you've got a lot of water running, in pipes behind washer dryer stacks where, your makeup air is vented in from the outside, right? So if it gets really cold, you can have issues. But thankfully,
I don't know anything about that.
Right. Yeah. Right.
60 is pretty cold here.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it gets cold here in Nashville, but we usually don't have 3 or 4 weeks of like in the teens. We'll have several days in a row, but not 3 or 4. And just you run a dryer. I mean, you know how hot it is behind your dryer. It's amazing. So you can. I'm hoping I can overcome it. This is not a product that I've sold a lot of yet. I tend to like to kind of use stuff before I just launch it in on the people that it really matters, the people that are actually paying us to tell them this is a good thing.
Whether it's good or not, yeah.
I kind of like that.
You want to know what you're talking about? I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Like I like to actually have working knowledge of it, now that I'm able to do that. So, yeah, we're going to try it out. They're really cool. They're going to have the touch screens on them and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm really interested to see the whole, Alliance touchscreen sort of, customer sort of interaction capability of that and all the languages. And a lot of my customers are like, well, what if people break them and all that kind of stuff, And now I can tell you what the factory tells me, which is, I mean, Alliance, they get a lot of people throw rocks at them, but they're huge, right? But for the most part, they're right. If they tell you something, it's generally pretty accurate. So, I mean, they're telling me that, these things are really hard to break and they're not that expensive to replace and they're easy to replace all this stuff. Well, here in a year, I'll know.
We'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah, right. So I'll know for sure. So
we'll have you back on in a year so that you can tell us.
And I can tell you, hey, this is greater, man.
Yeah. My 3-year-old broke it. So
right. Yeah. But so I'm actually really excited about it because it allows you to communicate through the machine to the customer a lot more personally. You can actually, like, the machine will actually be in their language, and you'll have there's just people react to colors and pictures and movement and things like that. A whole lot better than buttons anymore. And so I think it's going to be helpful.
Yeah.
And, especially in how you describe what they're actually buying. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really neat thing.
Yeah.
Going forward. So,
yeah, cool. Well, I mean, it's an exciting project. It'll be cool to see, your brand new finished store with the touchscreen stuff. Yeah, I would love to see pictures of it. And, next time I'm in Nashville, I mean, I love Nashville. So next time I'm out there, I'm going to come check, check your stuff
you
out.
should.
That'd be very cool.
You should. It'd be fun. I'd love that. Hopefully we can, move forward from the virus and all that kind of stuff.
I know.
And actually go back because, Nashville is very, very, very hospitality.
Absolutely,
and music oriented. So we've got three things going on here. We've got hospitality, music, and healthcare. And those three things right now aren't real happy,
Yeah.
So it's but Nashville's kind of clicking along. It's been an amazing place. Even back in 2009, we really didn't get hit that hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we'll really get. I am sure that we're going to make it just fine through this. It's going to be hard, and we're going to have a lot of. It's going to be a struggle, but we'll make it. We'll make it as a country. We'll make it as a state, as a city, and I think it'll be fine. But yeah, so it'll be really fun when things actually get going again downtown.
I know.
It's pretty exciting. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, tell me this. I know you have your distributor side of stuff and kind of the chemical stuff too going on a little bit, but what does like a typical work week on the laundromat side look like for you? I think a lot of people want to know how other owners are kind of, divvying up their work. And then people who want to get into laundromats are always asking me, what does a typical work week look like? How many hours are you spending? What are you doing? What does that look like for you?
So I was at my Dixon store for 45 minutes today. I have some really good employees. My stores aren't full-time attended, but they are attended 6 hours every day during the week and more than that on the weekends. Because the weekends are really, really busy. Yeah. I try to have people there when there's a lot of people there. Like at Wednesdays on 10 o'clock, having somebody there is sort of, unless you're doing some kind of OPL thing or, some kind of other thing, it's like you might as well just sit there and watch TV or something. There's nothing to do.
Nothing to do,
But like, gosh, 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, you probably should have somebody there because it is a crazy town. At least mine are. So, we try to toe the line. So I don't have people there all the time. Mine are in small towns, so we have not yet kind of gotten to the place where we feel like, we have to manage the number of people in and out of the stores. That may be coming. If that happens, then we'll have to go full time. Yeah. All of this is very new for all of us, and so we're all trying to figure out best practices to get through it together. Yeah. We haven't yet gotten to the point to where, that's been a necessity. I think in the bigger cities where you have laundromats, where people are just all on top of each other, it's a different story. That's going to change our business a lot, really, because we need those turns. You need to fill those laundries when the laundries need to be full when people want to do laundry. And so I'm really not sure how, let's say your local government suddenly mandated, okay, you got X number of square feet, you can only have X number of people in the store at one time. I'm not really sure how our customers as laundry customers are going to deal with that, right? I don't know if they'll just go somewhere else. They'll find another way, or if they'll actually wait. It's going to be an interesting thing. Because I don't think we can survive on that model. Yeah. Without doing a pick up and drop off type thing or doing something else. Right. So and the great thing about new pressure is we'll get new innovation. And this is definitely a new pressure. We are resistant to it because all the laundromats are actually, at least around here, actually doing pretty well, so we are resistant to the pressure, but that doesn't mean that, we're totally, not going to be affected by it, the pressure. So, it'll be an interesting thing, and podcasts like yours, and resources like the various magazines and things like that for the industry, will be really helpful. I think, some of the YouTube sites and stuff like that, and blogs where people are talking. But it's going to be an interesting thing. Hopefully, we'll never get there, but if we do, we deal with it, right?
Yep.
So
we just roll with those punches. That's what we got to do. Yeah.
We're small business people. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do. Yep.
We can complain about this and that and everything else, but at the end of the day, whatever comes down the pike, it's your responsibility to adapt to it and overcome. So,
yeah. So, okay. So you spent 45 minutes at your Dixon location.
Sorry, I keep dancing around the issue. And and I spend 45 minutes there, maybe on Mondays, and maybe an hour there on Fridays. Right. Okay. I have really good people. I have a really great employee named John Pell here in at National Laundry Equipment, who takes care of the Ashland City store, and he spends about that amount of time there. And we have really good people working there too.
Yeah, awesome.
And we basically set the schedules, we do the collecting, we do that kind of stuff. And we've been through employees, kind of rolled through employees over the years until we found some really, really good ones. They stayed with us, and we're careful about making sure they know how much we appreciate them, and we take care of them and all that kind of stuff. And they do a really good job for us. And it's I got one guy named Johnny Walker, and Johnny's a phenomenal guy, but he's been with me since 2016, and just is really beloved by my customers and everything. And he really enjoys going in and talking to everybody, and that's his thing. Like he's gotten to know so many people there in the town, and everybody knows who he is because he's made so many friends through the laundromat. He's just a real affable guy, and a real honest guy, and he works hard. He keeps the place clean, and then I have another fellow that that's actually kind of amazing. It worked out. Another guy down at my Dixon store who was actually homeless, and I was looking for somebody new, and his name's Jeremy, and he's not homeless anymore, but he was. He interviewed and everything, and I really liked him, and I gave him the job, but I didn't know he was homeless at the time. So anyways, about 3 weeks after, he was super careful not to show me what was going on, right? I guess he thought he was going to get ditched if I knew. So I came on a day that I usually don't come over there, because every now and then I just kind of drop in, because like you got to trust your people, but you also got to know, right? So every now and then, like on a random time, like Tuesday, you show up and you just open the dryer doors and you make sure like the lint locker is not about to catch fire.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, he's outside and he's asleep in his car, and so I'm like, Jeremy, what's up? And I can tell he's living in there, right? And I'd not seen his car before, so he's like, man, I don't really have a place to stay. I'm actually living in my car. And I was like, So, and I don't know how legal this is or not, but I gave him a key to the back room, and we went and got him a cot and all that kind of stuff. And he lived back there for a while, and that guy has just been a real blessing. I mean, still, he's really been able to build up his life. He's got an apartment. He's doing pretty well now. He's been able to kind of get back on his feet. And it's been a great thing for me to see, watch him do that.
Yeah.
And, most people that I tell that story to, they're like, I can't believe it, it worked out like that. But
I mean, definitely a gamble. I've heard other stories where people have done that and it hasn't worked out so well. So
right. Yeah, I know. And
that's
so
good.
Every day I was expecting like it was going to blow up, but it didn't. And he knew all the real bad guys in town, and he got rid of them and really helped me turn that store from the place where everybody goes to buy drugs to a really nice laundromat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because that also can backfire. The guys, yes. I hear a lot of times the people who know them all, they just let them all come hang out. And
I hired a lady named Hannah, and one day I was in there and she wasn't in there. I was just dropped in. I was sitting in the office, and this other lady walks in. She's got different color socks on, no shoes, and obviously hadn't bathed in a long time. She walks into the office and spits in the trash can and goes, "Where's Hannah?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm waiting on her." And she goes, "Well, she's got something I need." And I was like, "I bet she does."
Yeah. Oh man, the stories that come out.
One of those things. But yeah, so I don't spend very much time there.
Good.
I haven't. So my route is collected by other people.
Okay.
And every now and then we have an issue. You have to keep track of it. You got to watch your standard deviations. You got to, you set up an Excel spreadsheet. You're careful. You watch it.
Yeah.
The laundromats, even though I use the Fast Guard system in these laundromats, which, it's a pretty good system. I can keep pretty good track of what's going on, but I haven't really gotten to the point to where I'm comfortable with other people collecting yet.
Yeah.
I think with some of the newer payment systems, I think you can track it a lot closer.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's not going to be such a far bridge to cross. And then once you get there, there's a lot less barrier to open a whole bunch of stores.
Yep, exactly. I think that's been a big barrier for that. You can only, collect so many coins in a week before you're tapped out, So.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's a huge time sink, right?
Huge. Huge.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, hey, I want to talk some specifics about your businesses here in a second, but before we do, I'm just curious, do you have any like goals or aspirations on what's coming down the pipeline for you? What the future might look like?
Right.
Thought through that at all?
I do. And so this is the second kind of recessionary time I've been in. And, I'm really realizing the power of the laundromat.
Yeah.
And so we want to shore up our business. We want to build a few more laundries, and, we've got people that are building laundries with us. And, the biggest thing is I want to maintain a perfect streak of building laundries that make people money.
Yeah.
I have no desire to sell a bunch of equipment to somebody that fails. I've been able to avoid it so far. I'm going to do everything in my power to continue to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love that mindset. And, that's, you're the kind of people that I want to do business with. My experience has not been that. And the first distributor I worked with did not have that mindset, and it cost me a lot. So
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. So, and partially it's hard to blame them, because, for lack of a better way to incentivize distributors, manufacturers basically incentivize distributors on how much laundry equipment we buy.
Yep.
And so, it's, it's hard. And it's, if you don't have a route, or you don't have laundries that you're doing, or you don't have a chemical, something. See, we're very diverse here in Nashville. We do a lot of stuff. And so that keeps me from having to go out and say, man, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills unless I sell $250,000 worth of equipment this month. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or, man, I gotta, if I don't hit my volume rebate, I'm going to go out of business. That kind of thing. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a bad thing about what the manufacturers are doing. They're just incentivizing like any other manufacturer would, and you need to do that. They're doing everything right. I've had all good experiences with Alliance Laundry Systems. I think they are a phenomenal company. They make a phenomenal product. They are cutting edge as far as their controls. They are cutting edge as far as their manufacturing. They really spend a lot of time thinking about bettering their product. There's people up there that just amaze me by how much they know and what they're capable of.
Yeah.
I'm not here to, pitch a product, right? I also know that there are other products on the market that are also very, very good. So, I don't want to come out here and say, hey, you need to buy an Alliance brand because the X, Y, and Z. But that's not why I'm on the podcast. So I think I think what's more important really is if you can find a distributor who you really jive with, and you really trust, right?
Yeah.
And as a laundry owner, you use your distributor like the infantry use a cavalry, right? You got to use them like your eyes and ears, and you've got to call them and be like, hey, what are you seeing in the market now, right? Because we have the guys, the men and women who are running around in the market. You as the laundry owner cannot do this. You know what I mean? Like you can do it to some extent, but you can't do it like we do it, right? Because we're out there passing out cards and checking on stuff and making sure everybody's okay and all this other stuff. And so one of the keys is to use your distributor as your cavalry, as your eyes and your ears in the market. Yeah. And if you can do that, you will find that not only do you have a better relationship with your distributor, and not only do you have a better understanding of kind of what's going on in his or her head, you can also have a really good idea of what's going on in your market and stuff like that without having to physically get out there and spend your time and gas money and stuff like that doing that, right?
Totally, yeah.
Right. And I hope a lot of distributors, try to do that and try to build a team really of laundry owners, it's, and of course you get people mad at you. You can't please everybody, but it's my goal that, everybody we build a retool store for, we basically bring them into the family, right? And I would rather have a whole bunch of people that, we have a dialogue and we trust each other and we talk in the local area and we really kind of understand what's going on, right? Then create an arms race between my clients just so I can, push the newest controllers and everything else, right? To me, if my children and my children's children were to want to continue in this business with National Laundry Equipment, the key to that would be to have a whole bunch of folks that, we have turned into friends and confidants, right? And not just people who have bid us out and bought laundry equipment, right? Yep. And so, given that said, we're never the cheapest and we're never the most expensive, but we make up for that with the fact that we really do care, and we spend a lot of time working with people to get the right location. We spend a lot of time working with people to make sure they've negotiated the right lease. We try to bring all the failures that we've had in the past and all the successes that we've had in the past. And if somebody opens a store, we just try to invest all of that into them and to make them a success. Because every time they're a success, not only do we learn more, but, we also can count on the fact that 2 years down the line, they're going to want to open another store. And at that point, we built up such a trust with them, right? That they're going to be like, okay, what would you do here? And then we can go in and just watch them become bigger and bigger and bigger successes, right? And then occasionally often we give advice, and like, no, I think I see it differently. I want to do it this way. And we're like, and then they do it that way, and we're watching this, and it's a smashing success. And then that's a chance for us to come in and reevaluate and say, okay, what did X laundry operator teach us? And we totally constantly try to do that.
Yeah, I think that's key to success for any business. Even just with your laundromat, is looking at the things that work and trying new things and seeing what works and what doesn't work and why that is, and how you can, duplicate the things that are working or replicate it, and then just set aside the things that aren't working. So, well, cool. So this section of the podcast we like to call Down to Business.
Let's get down to business. Over and out.
And Down to Business is where we just talk a little bit about the details about your business. So we already know that your laundromats are in the Nashville area. So we know that. And we know that you have 2 building your 3rd, which is exciting. And how long again have you been in the laundromat specific part of the business? You
Since
said
2014. So I built one in 2014 and one in 2016.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So you've been in it for 6 years or so now? Yeah.
Right.
6 years. Yeah.
And I've been a distributor now for 12. So.
Okay. So you've been in the industry for a while, a good while. Can you give us, and you can be as, general or specific as you want, but can you give us like an idea of what VIN prices are in the Nashville area?
Sure. Yeah. So it is my belief that you got to have your loss leaders and then you got to have your big, massive machine, right? So you don't want too many of the small ones. You want to sort of err toward the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Because they're your margin makers. And I think anybody in the laundry business will say this. It hurts when you go to buy them. I mean, like, it hurts.
They're expensive. Yeah.
What? This is worse. So anyway, but so I have, basically I go from my cheapest load in the laundromat is $275.
Okay.
And then it goes all the way up to my most expensive is about $15.
Okay.
And those are 80-pound washing straps. I'm lukewarm on 100-pounders, right?
Okay. How come? Out of curiosity. I don't have any 100-pounders.
Yeah. So 80s and 100. So this is retail, and retail is based on perception.
Right.
80s and 100s are the footprint is really similar. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Secondly, the 100-pound washer tractors spin at 160 Gs, at least ours do. And the 80s spin at 200 Gs. And there's a palpable difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So you got that. Now, a lot of people swear by them. And it's not I wouldn't discourage somebody from buying one. I just don't own it.
Right.
To me, if I'm going to try to step it up and go bigger, I'll buy a 70-pound soft mount. Right. That thing is, it's not as big of a capacity, but it's freaking massive.
Yeah.
Like a 70-pound soft mount washer extractor looks like,
you're parking a bus in your laundromat.
Dude, it dwarfs an 80-pound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the route we will do, and we'll, and we'll do that. And people are like, whoa, because the truth of the matter is, they're unlikely to actually put 70 pounds of clothes in there. That's a lot of.
That's a lot of clothes. Yeah.
So, but it, there's some sort of perception things you can do. I've been after Alliance for a long time, and they listen, but I'm like, man, you got to make this 100 like significantly bigger. So just put a bunch of air in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want a customer to be able to see it from the other side of the room.
Yeah, from the next laundromat over.
Well, yeah, and I want them to see it from the other side of the room and be able to say why there's a price difference between these two, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I'm a huge fan of 55-pound slimline dryers. Okay, so the 50-pound dryer and the 75-pound dryer, if you stand back, they look exactly the same. And so you're like, why is this one this and this one this? And then until you actually open the door and you're like, okay, one's a cave and one's kind of,
Yeah.
But a 55-pound slimline is exactly the size between a 35 and a 75. It's just deeper.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've got, obvious, separation of pricing there.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm a real believer in perception in any given retail experience.
Yeah.
Right. And so, if you can step back and have no idea what the language is or what anything says, you can see the difference in value, right? Because you're vending, you don't get to talk to them, you don't get to sell. The machine has to sell, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of one of my harping points anyway.
Cool.
But yeah,
I think that's great. I do think perception really matters, especially when you're customer facing, because what they see is the impression they're going to get, and it creates feelings in them, and their feelings lead to their decision making. So,
that's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Can you give us?
And that's a shameless plug for ozone. A shameless plug for ozone. It's the same. The main like ozone in the OPL setting is getting more and more necessary, right? Unless you want 160 degree water and 200 parts per million bleach, ozone is an amazing thing, right? In a laundromat, I know these ozone machines are expensive. There's really, at least around me, there's really a couple of choices, right? You can pick from, and they're really both pretty good. But when you walk into a store, your first impressions made up in this order by two things: your nose and then the condition of the floor.
Yeah.
If you walk in and a place smells bad, it doesn't matter how clean the machines are. You're not going to walk away with a feeling that the place is clean, and you're walking in there to do a cleaning exercise, right?
Yep.
And secondarily is the floor. And it's really, really, really hard to keep the floor clean in a laundromat.
So much traffic.
They don't care. I see people just throwing stuff down on the floor, and there's literally a trash can within arm's reach. And they just, but you got to do it because the perception thing, right? It's the smell on the floor. And if you can do that, you're 80% of the way there.
Yeah. So, I tell people as soon as the first dryer sheet hits the floor, then it's just a free for all. People feel like they can throw whatever they want on the floor after that. So
dryer sheets, yeah.
I know.
And then you got the people that literally take their gum out. I mean, what's that?
I don't know.
I mean, who does that?
I stopped asking those questions because I realize there's no logical answer to why people do what they do half the time. So,
oh man, that frustrates me more than anything. But it is what it is, and I guess they figure, you're gonna clean up after them, and you know what? It's job security. So
that's right.
I do it all the time. I'm happy to do it.
Yep.
As long as they keep coming back.
That's right. Well, hey, can you give us just a ballpark of what kind of like turns per day your stores are doing?
Sure. Yeah. So I am both getting really, really close to 4. Now it's gonna depend on your what day of the week you go. It's gonna depend on the time of year and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they're both really close. And
keep it up on 4.
Actually amazes me because I never would have really thought, like in the small towns, that I would do that. But building really nice, technologically advanced stores pulls people from all over the town.
Totally.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's killer. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're partially attended. Do you, I can't remember if you mentioned this during the podcast or if we talked about it before, but can you tell us about if you're using card, coin, or both?
Yeah. So right now I do both. For the 2 stores that I'm doing, I'm using the Fast Start system by CCI. And back in 2014, dude, it was by far better than anything ever. I mean, there's other things now that are really close. I would really like to get away from coins altogether, but I don't think we're ready for that. I do. I think so. My next store, I don't want to say too much, but my next store, I'm going to want to be able to pay with a phone and stuff like that too.
Nice, I like that.
The Fast Start system, like you can sort of pay with your phone, but you have to load money on an app first and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But CCI and Steve Marcy and Eddie, they have a fantastic product. He's a friend of mine, and I'm just a raving fan of him and his outfit. And I don't tend to try to sell stuff that I get frustrated with.
Yeah.
If I get frustrated with it, I'm not going to push it on my customers because it's not worth it for me.
Totally.
So, cool. And then we also, we try to keep people entertained. I used to really believe in this system that projected a video game down on the floor.
Oh yeah, I've seen
really
that.
Cool.
So cool, yeah.
Yeah. So I have one in Dixon. It's amazing. Lately they've really been a headache, the newer ones. So I don't know what's going on. So I'm kind of sitting back and watching that. Boy, it is, when done right, it is really great, because like everybody knows kids like to ride in carts. But if they're too busy like smashing pirate ships and jumping over stuff and virtual soccer, they don't really, So
they're not riding around racing each other.
Yes. And then you can get, like a local Rotary Club or somebody like that. A lot of times will sponsor a little reading section for them and stuff like that. And you'll constantly be losing books. You just have to know that.
Yeah.
Like they're going to wall. But I mean, as long as you kind of see it as, well, it's not that big of an expense, and X or Y Civic Club is helping me. And, I mean, in a way, I'm sort of furthering the education of that child,
Totally.
It's
there's value there.
It's still annoying as crap to walk in and be like, I just put that book there.
I know. They end up everywhere and kids coloring them. I mean, there's a headache to it. So
yeah, but, it is what it is. I've got 2 little rugrats, and it's a blast.
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, this next section is called the secret sauce.
Listen up, it's the secret sauce.
What's one thing that's working right now in your business really well? Something that's, it's doing awesome for you that other owners can implement in their businesses to help them succeed.
Man. So for the most part for us, it's fundamentals. So it starts with the way you design the store, and then you just go forward with it. You want to make sure your space is inviting, clean, and well lit. And if it's inviting, clean, well lit, and it's already been designed to basically ergonomically work, So I don't know who decided it was a great idea to build bulkheads where if you wash in the middle of a set of washers, you got to walk all the way around those washers, all the way to the outside, and then walk all the way behind them, and then go around here, and then basically do this little maze to put your stuff in the dryer. That makes sense.
Yeah, I know.
It should be really easy to get from washer to dryer, right?
Yep.
Try to keep that in mind, keep it uncluttered, and we really try to see things through the eyes of our customers, right?
Yeah.
And I really like to try to put myself in the shoes of a young mother with like 2 kids, like maybe, 2 and 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right at the age where they're really mobile, but they don't listen.
Right. Yeah.
And I've got 70 pounds of laundry to do. Right.
Yep.
How easy or hard is it for me to do that at this location? Right. How do I feel when I walk in? Do I feel like a second-class citizen, or do I feel like this place really appreciates me?
Yeah.
Things like automatically opening and closing doors. That's $7,000 or $8,000 or something. But holy moly, that's big.
Yeah.
Like if I can just carry my stuff into the store, putting it down, open the door, picking it back up, yelling at my son who's about to get squashed, out in the parking lot, picking it back up again, trying to prop it, spilling stuff. It's actually a really, really big deal.
Yeah.
But stuff like that really, really changes the perception of the customer. And if you can change the perception of the customer, you'll keep the customer, right?
Yeah.
You want to keep that perception high. And once you get that, you can, I hate telling people this because I don't want them to like just slack, right? But once you achieve that general perception in that society, you can kind of, let it roll a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay, so your paint's not perfect. You'll be okay. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But don't let it stay for a long time. Right. You gotta maintain a certain level, but you just gotta, build that perception. Think about the daily lives of your customers and what they're going through, and really the difficulties they're having, and the fact that, they can't just shove everything in their washer at home and go make dinner for their kids and they come back and, you know what I mean? They got to haul their kids to the laundromat. What are they going to do with kids?
Yep.
that kind of thing. So those things are important, right? They're not direct revenue generators, but they're indirect revenue generators. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think you're spot on wise, putting yourself in your ideal customer's shoes and using their eyes and looking around your store and saying, okay, am I having a good experience trying to do my laundry here, as this ideal customer, and trying to configure your store to make it the best possible experience for that person. So I think that that's a key to success for any business, really, but particularly in laundromats, because you're right. And I see all the time, parents struggling, trying to keep their kids entertained, either handing them a device or just trying to use carts to block them into a certain area or whatever,
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the old fence me in technique. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything. I think that parents especially will drive a little further if they have to have an easier experience with laundry. So definitely, I think that's awesome advice. So the next section of the podcast, I like to call Pro Tips.
Pro Tips.
Pro Tips is it's for people who maybe are interested in getting into, the laundromat industry. And the question is this: what's one piece of advice you would give to a new laundromat owner or somebody who's looking to get into the industry, and they want to buy their first laundromat? What advice can you give somebody?
Oh man, distributor. Interview distributors. Act like you're interviewing somebody to be your partner. Go in there and really make sure you like the person that is selling to you. You feel like they're telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Make sure they have the capability to help you if you need it.
Yeah.
Make sure, try to find some people that they've done work for. They'll be happy to give you a list of people that love them. But you can easily figure out who the distributor is just by, okay, what brand do you sell? Oh, okay, so you sell Speed Queen. Okay, just go around to laundromats that have Speed Queen equipment in there and ask, how does this distributor treat you?
Yeah.
What do you feel? How long does it take them to get service guys to you? When they do show up, are they able to actually fix the problem? These kind of questions you got to ask. Because you will find that if you find a distributor that is really about you and about the customers, then they will be one of your greatest assets going forward. If you end up kind of, unfortunately, getting in bed with a distributor that's not very helpful, because you got to understand, like, warranties are long. Like this, you're not going to replace laundry equipment for a long time.
Yeah.
And the guy you buy it from is going to be the guy that's going to come fix it.
Yeah.
And I say guy, but it could be male, female owned distributorship, male, female techs, whatever. So, but you want to make sure before you sign anything, you want to make sure before you even get in bed with the concept that you've got a real good idea who you're going to want to move forward with. That's something that we so often overlook because we so often just get into this phase of what does the equipment cost, and it, as long as it's not outrageous, if you're talking 5 or 6% of the entire project, it's really not a big deal, right? And yeah, go ahead and bid them out, right? You already know who you're going to go with.
Totally.
You can keep them honest by saying, hey, look, I got a quote from X, Y, and Z, and this is this, and what's going on. And just have this conversation with them because, sometimes they can do things, right?
Yep.
We've in the industry, gosh, we've gotten good at, even moving mountains for people who want to build laundromats. So, but sometimes you can't. It just depends on what you can and can't do with that given deal. But do make sure that you're dealing with the right person. And every one of us out there can do that, right? And then sometimes folks just won't jive with us, right? And so they really need to go to a different distributor because they get frustrated, we get frustrated, everybody gets frustrated, and it's just not a good relationship, right? It's better to just go ahead and start with somebody who really is the person that you want to do business with, over a long period of time. Because, like you said, you didn't have that good of an experience with your distributor. I mean, and that's really unfortunate because you're sort of stuck. Yep. It's really hard to jump ship.
Yep.
Because you may have, there are laundromats that have, $500,000 and $600,000 worth of equipment sitting there. I mean, what are you going to do? You're not going to replace it. It's good stuff. You're going to operate it. And so you've got to, and I don't mean to be self-serving with this, but it is really the most important thing that people getting into the business really need to do. They need to kind of understand who it is that, they're going to be buying stuff from in the future. Right. Yeah. And, you don't have to buy every single part or every single piece of equipment from that distributor, but, you make sure you have a good relationship with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that advice coming from a distributor even, I think it's so important to do business with somebody that you trust. And I even love that you said, hey, bid them out and keep them honest, because I know that, you guys are in business too. And so, you're trying to make the money you need to make, and and somebody buying equipment's trying to save the money they need to save. So and I like that. And that's what it's all about, right? Like you got to find something that works for both people, and most of the time you can, and sometimes you can't, and that's just the way it goes. But I love that advice is coming from a distributor, not just an owner, and somebody saying, hey, find somebody you trust that you can work with, that's gonna be there for you when you need them, and is going to have your best interest in mind, because not everybody is like that, so I love that.
And you want to make sure that person doesn't have a reputation of, he was great until another person came and they built the laundromat. Like if you go down and you make a left, that they built that one.
Yeah.
And half my business went there. You don't want to do, you don't want that guy either. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, you gotta, and it's real easy to figure out how distributors do business. You just have to ask other laundry owners, and it's not like you have to be a super sleuth to figure this out. Like if you're in a certain zip code and you see this brand of equipment, then that distributor is 99% the person that sold that equipment. And so they know them, right? So, it's pretty easy to figure that out.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that's a great pro tip. Thanks for sharing that. The next to last section of the podcast is just recommended resources. Do you have any resources that you would recommend to either other owners or people who want to be owners that might help them in their business?
Yeah. So it's not just not just for laundry people, but for everything else. And look, this book's even 30% off. Look, you see, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read this book?
Oh yeah.
This is fantastic.
It's life-changing. Yeah.
I try to get all of my employees to read this book.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, so like the interesting thing is, like, I read this already. I kind of already could, read a balance sheet and stuff like that because I went to business school, but this really explains what a real asset and what a real liability is, and what it actually means, to trade stability for real success.
Yeah.
And so if you can kind of get your employees to buy into this, and if you can buy into something like this, it's really paid dividends for me. Really helped. Because everybody kind of sees what you're doing now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not complicated, and it's really easy to understand, and it's really easy to read, and it's sort of really surprising. You sort of start getting to the end, and you're like, man, I didn't expect for that to be that way.
Yeah.
It's a really good thing. So if you can pick that book up, in particular. It's a really good one. Another good one that I really like, for managing people, is called The Talent Code. If you haven't read that one's a really good one to pick up.
Talent Code.
The Talent Code, yeah. It actually goes through biologically how we actually learn skills, and those skills are made sharper with myelin sheathing, and it actually shows about how you actually build skills that last, and how you actually can build skills that stay sharp over time.
Huh.
And how you keep them sharp. And it's a phenomenal book. It's not a hard read. There's a lot of deep science in there, but the guy that wrote it is not he doesn't write it for the scientists. He writes it for guys like me. And that has really helped me in developing my employees. When you're looking at employees, you don't want to look at, okay, how much work can I get out of them? Really, what you want to do is you kind of look at somebody and you say, okay, how do I develop them into somebody that's really going to add value, right? Yeah. And number one, when you're hiring them, are they somebody that can they make a difference now, and then can they make a greater difference later? That's the person you want. And so that book has really helped me do that. I actually read it in the context of dog training. I was on a FEMA search and rescue outfit as a canine handler, and we all read it. Learning is learning. It doesn't matter what, if it's a mouse or a pigeon or a human. Yeah. We all learn biologically the same way. And so, you learn to set up situations to where you have perfect practice to make, to provide perfect, execution and that kind of thing. And it's really phenomenal. And it helps me develop people. And it's really helpful. Because it doesn't matter if it's just somebody who comes in, for 2 hours a day to clean the machines, or somebody that, you've got that's, the general manager of the business. You really need that person to not only understand why they're there, but to really more and more effectively and with more and more pride, do the things that they're doing, and to kind of seek more and more responsibility. You get those people and you've really got something special, you can develop them into, you can turn somebody that was cleaning your laundry machines into the manager of that laundromat, right? That person on day one couldn't have done that, but you can develop them into that. And this book really, the Talent Code, really takes you through sort of a step-by-step way of kind of getting to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's pretty cool. It's fun.
That's cool. Yeah. I've never read that one. I'll have to definitely check it out. And I'll make sure I'll put links to both books in the show notes, which will be at laundromatresource.com/show13. And if you're watching on YouTube, they'll be down in the description. So good resources. And I agree, man. If you have not read Rich Dad, Poor Dad yet, you have to read it. Every podcast that I listen to that has investors or business owners, people who are doing well in life, so many people recommend that book, including myself, as a life-changing book. I know there's some controversy surrounding the historical legitimacy, but I think that just misses the point of the book.
Exactly. Well, and who cares really? Yeah. I mean, the point is, the point is, he is trying to explain the difference in someone who has opted for security over success.
Yeah.
And then how do you get to success? So what is the framework of seeing, assets and liabilities, so you can constantly increase the assets without, just running down the rabbit hole of constantly spending money on things that you think are assets, but guess what? They're really liabilities.
They're liabilities. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Super good book. So if you haven't read it, just read it, just do it. So, well, cool. Here's the last thing that I have for you before we wrap up is if people listening to this right now want to get in touch with you, either just to chat with you about laundromat ownership, or just say thanks for, coming on the show and sharing your story, or if they, want to get in touch with you as a distributor, how can people best connect with you?
Sure. Well, our website, www.nationallaundryequipment.com. You can get us on that website. You've got all of our information. You can find, everything about us, what we sell, what we do, and all that kind of stuff. Our local number is 615-885-1115. We got a toll-free number that nobody ever uses anymore. Because I don't think anybody pays for long distance anymore.
Yeah, no.
But you can always email me at JD, that's Juliet Delta, .Dixon, that's Dixon, Delta, India, X-ray, Oscar, November, at National Laundry Equipment, all spelled out. It's long, it's obnoxious, I know, but it's hard. .com. And if you do that, I'd love to hear from you. And I'll give you my advice. It'll probably be worth exactly what you pay for it, which is nothing.
I don't know about that. I'd
love to hear from you. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, I love, one of the things I really love is you shared your perspective, both as an owner and a distributor, and to have, both perspectives, in kind of one person is, I think, super valuable, because you get it. Like, you get the ownership side of it, and you also get the distributorship side of it. And that distributorship side gives you a breadth of experience and knowledge that even owners that have multiple stores don't get, because you're interacting with, tons of owners, and you're getting to hear about their experiences, and, so that, and you're absorbing all of that and implementing that into what you're doing, both on your own laundromats and also on, other customers' laundromats. So, man, I really, really, really appreciate you coming on, taking the time, and, sharing your wisdom. And you do have a lot of wisdom. And I know you made a lot of comments about other people being smart, but, you got it too, man. And you're doing it right. And I love what you're doing, both with your laundromats and your distributorship company. So thanks for coming on and sharing that stuff.
Thank you. And hey, listen, come visit us in Nashville.
Definitely.
We'd love to have you. Hopefully we can take you out and do some fun stuff by the time you get out here. But, and folks, please do contact me, and use your distributor. Distributors want to be used. I mean, think of us. I'm very serious. We're the cavalry. We're the guys out there riding around. My men and women who work with me have much better knowledge of the market than I do. And so, call, ask questions. Distributors will love to help you. Of course, I mean, we have, client privilege things. We're not going to tell you something that would harm, our customers and the people that own the laundromats. But, at the same time, a good distributor would love to help you be more successful in your business. Because, that's our long-term plan. That's our long-term plan. You are a distributor's long-term plan.
Yep.
And if a distributor is constantly having to find new investors, that's a problem. I would much rather have people that have already done business would come back and say, hey, I want to do another store. Let's do this. Let's do it, from the ground up. Let's do it right. This is what I have to spend. Let's go through and I want you to help me start interviewing contractors. And holy smokes, it's amazing what gets done then.
Yep.
So
love it.
Use us, please.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. And we'll have you back on in a year to hear the update on how the touchscreens are working out for you.
Yes. No, I'm hoping it's all good news, because it's not a small investment.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm right now, you get all excited and then you sign your lease and then all the money starts going out. And so right now I'm kind of in the, it's like a roller coaster. I'm going down the first big main hill to gather all that speed momentum, and I'm scared.
Yeah. Well, hang in there. The fun's coming. The fun's coming.
Yes,
all
sir.
right. Well, thanks again for coming on.
All right. Thank you.
So cool to get that unique perspective from JD. He had a lot of stories to share, and his life already has covered like a huge area. He is definitely not a straight line to laundromat ownership kind of guy. I feel like that guy's been in every industry that he could be in until he landed on laundromats. And he said a few different times, I realized the power of laundromats. And I think that is one of the things that makes this one of the best investments out there. And hopefully you guys who own laundromats now are seeing that in your business, despite current circumstances. If you're listening to this, here in mid 2020 and just everything going on right now, hopefully you're still experiencing the power of laundromats. Just the fact that they can stay open during these times, the fact that we can serve our communities during these times. And I just, and all the while, putting cash flow in our pockets. So super powerful, super, super awesome interview with JD. He had a ton of things to share with us, and I hope that you got something awesome out of it. I want to just challenge you 2 things. Number 1, again, go to the forums, laundromatresource.com/forums, and ask a question and answer a question. But also number 2, pick one thing out of today's interview. Pick one thing that you can do either to improve yourself or your businesses this week. And I think if we can do that after every episode and we can pick one thing to work on our businesses or to work on ourselves, that, in no time flat, we're all going to be so much better than we were when we started. So go do that this week. And until next week, we will see you. This is Jordan from Laundromat Resource Podcast and laundromatresource.com. See you next week. Peace.